You know what I mean? That we have data sets. Okay, right. They should, no. You do it always. First is always. What you do. Well, bring it up to me. Bring it all. I always have to the order. Yeah.
Well, 30 seconds in kind.
Here, here, look.
6:59.
Wow. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir.
If I knew you were coming, I have coffee for you.
I give the movie that just right in,
Right.
with a wire.
We've been at
Yeah, please.
We'll have a round of those if you have them.
A round of agendas on the house. Yeah. We were with him yesterday and I was feeling a little. All right, stay there. Oh.
That was a good question. How does that work? For chairman tonight?
Thank you very much.
Counselor, maybe?
I'll give you continuing tenure.
So probably not. Is what you're saying?
Right.
You not get on the other night?
I got it.
I got it.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I like.
No, but it was down.
Oh,
was
yeah.
it?
That's true. Okay.
All right, everyone, I have 7:01. I will call the meeting to order. Please put your cell phones on, as Mr. Baker would say, stun. And that being said, we will please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on the, next item on the agenda is roll call. Please call roll.
Brandon,
Present.
Ms. John,
Present?
Dr. Hopper,
Here.
Mr. Nolan,
Here.
Mr. Rappin,
Here.
Mr. Schenkin,
Here.
Mr. Baker is absent.
We have a quorum. We'll move on to approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from January 14th, 2025? If so, what is the pleasure of the planning commission?
I will make a motion to approve the January 14th minutes.
Motion, we have a second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We have no preliminary hearings. We will move on to public hearings. The first item on public agenda for public hearings is PC 25001. We have a preliminary plat. Dave Addy with Powers Health requested approval of preliminary plat Powers Health 800 MacArthur, Lot 1, located at 800 MacArthur Boulevard. We pull that on the screen tonight.
There we go.
Well,
Thank you.
So has everyone had a chance? We don't have staff here to do a presentation of what we have. Sergio's not here. Jen's not online, right? So this is the parcel of land that community hospital is looking to basically replat the areas from the original zone over to the larger parcel, which is lot 1. So they're taking 3 parcels here and re-subdividing it into a larger lot.
And weren't they gonna do 4 phases on that? Is that
Later
the
on
same
with
one?
construction,
Yes.
yeah. same
Okay,
one,
so this is
same
the
one.
same.
If you go to the staff report on the very end, just to read it to the public at the last page, page 18. Page 7, son, okay. I was looking for it at the end.
Yes, page 7.
So the staff findings, I'll read it out loud so people in the public can hear, as well as our students that we have here. Staff findings and recommendations, staff finds waivers from the subdivision central ordinance are necessary due to the previously recorded subdivision. Is a replat of an existing lot of record. Meets and bounds parcels and existing infrastructure. Staff recommends review of the Munster subdivision control ordinance and recommends the applicant be scheduled for a final plat subdivision review. The motion that they recommend, the plan commission may consider the following motion. Motion to approve PC 25001 preliminary plat subdivision, Powers Health 800 MacArthur Lot 1, with the condition that the final plat subdivision consideration occur on March 11, 2025, including all discussion. Any other questions on that? That being said, is there someone on behalf of the petitioner that would like to speak on this and kind of explain, once again, to everyone that's in the room, what is going on here? And please state your name and address for the record, Mr. Adi. You've been here many times before.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Adi. I'm with Powers Health. My address 901 MacArthur. The goal of this addition at 800 MacArthur is to provide outpatient services for all the services we now do inside the hospital. It'll create more room so we can do inpatient services in the hospital. The building is a 4-story building. It'll be precast panels, caisson foundations, expandable up to 6 stories. Services that'll provide are PT services on the 1st floor, non-invasive cardiology on the 2nd floor, non-invasive cardiology on 3rd floor. So basically all outpatient procedures. Yeah, as far as the design of the building,
We can go into that. We'll just focus on the preliminary plat right now. Because the next item we have we got the PUD with the plan unit development and followed by the kind of like the plan approval for the 4 stories. So on this first one, Mr. Otter, you're basically taking these 3 lots.
yeah, the 3 parcels would be combined into 1 lot. Total, it combines about 13.75 acres. So that we can use that entire space for medical development.
Perfect.
And it's from MacArthur to Franklin, from Commerce to Calumet Avenue.
Can we scroll this to put it on, showing the colored page of just what the re-subdivision looking like? You had what page was that on?
Is on the second.
Second page, or 4? Yeah, yeah, page 3 and 4 kind of show it.
Right, 3 is how it is.
Right.
4.
Just so the public can see how the lots right here are currently listed as 3 parcels. If you go to page 4, the next one, they're re-subdividing it to make it 1 large parcel. for a future expansion for up to 4 buildings on this property. Did I state that correct, Mr. Ryan?
You are correct.
Okay.
The first parcel to the north now is the 800 existing one-story building and the parking garage. This basically is Braden,
The road.
and then south is all parking lot right now.
Are all those buildings gonna be able to be made to 6 stories?
The goal is yes, there'll be, if you have the master plan,
That might be on the next, that's
Yeah,
probably
we have
on
the
the
next
next.
Okay.
one,
So like piece by piece on this, so.
yeah, the goal is to put foundations in, so they'll all be expandable up to 6 stories. 4 stories right now.
And are you planning on putting another parking structure, or what's gonna happen with the parking?
For the first 2 phases, I believe are covered as far as the 3.3 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. Then after that, we'll have to look at probably expanding parking. And it probably would be a garage at that time.
Does anyone have any questions for petitioner regarding this preliminary plat?
I just gonna make a comment that really what this is just cleaning it all up. So instead of having all these little parcels and everything else, you're just putting it into one package, one description, and you're set.
Correct.
And you're not gonna build half a building on one parcel and half a building on another parcel.
No.
It's cleaning it all up.
The goal is at first to do all 4 phases of this major building. And just the first floor alone of that major building, I think, is about 75,000 square feet. So
On the first floor?
of all
Oh,
4
floors,
phases,
right.
but this building is about 25,000 square
Per
feet
floor.
per floor.
And
So 100,000 square feet,
with a possible 150 total.
correct.
Ms. Bennett, do we have any kind of issues that jump out legally regarding this?
No, not at this point.
Okay. Well, that being said, if there's no questions for the petitioner, since this is a public hearing, I will open it up to the public. If anyone would like to come up here and speak on behalf of the public, please state your name and address for the record. Going once. Going twice. I'll close the public hearing. I'll bring it back to the planning commission. Hearing what we've heard from the petitioner and the staff report and the staff recommendation. There's no other discussion. I'll look for a motion based on the staff's recommendation for the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve PC 25-001 to approve the replotting rezoning as presented.
Does that
Want me to read the
include?
whole?
Yeah,
All right.
I would put it in there for the facts and facts, so.
Approve PC 25-001 preliminary plat subdivision, Powers Health 800 MacArthur Lot 1, with the consideration that the final plat subdivision consideration occur on March 11, 2025, including all discussion and findings.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Ms. Brannigan,
Yes.
Ms. Johns,
Yes.
Dr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Rath,
Yes. Motion passes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought I was last, but.
No, yes.
All right, so you said chair.
He's
be
a
last. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda for public hearing, we have PC 25002. It's the rezone to a PUD. Anybody of Powers Health, request a rezone CD4A and PUD to Powers Health. 800 MacArthur Plan Unit Development located at 800 MacArthur Boulevard. We'll pull this agenda up on the screen, please. I do miss like staff presentations at this. That's been working diligently behind the scenes as the layperson on this board. So a little insight. This is community hospital once again. The current zoning is CD4A, general urban, SDP, PUD ordinance 1901. The adjacent zoning of the hospital is in the north is in the PUD. The south is CD4A General Urban, the east is CD4A General Urban, and the west is the PUD, which is Lake Business Center across the street. Going to a little bit of staff findings. Just to read this out loud before Mr. Adi comes up to the microphone, I'll read the staff findings recommendation. Staff initially finds that Munster character based zoning code of the SD PUD standards site per PUD approval or not regulated for proposed and future expansion of a medical campus, and recommended that standards be reviewed for consideration of the PUD rezone. Staff additionally recommends review of the Munster character-based zoning code of the SD PUD, reviewed of the state zoning map amendment code, and review of the Powers Health 800 MacArthur Plan Unit Development Standards for bulk design and uses found in Exhibit B. Finally, staff recommends the applicant be deferred if there are concerns with the proposed Powers Health PUD standards. So staff is recommending they consider a motion for following: motion to refer table 25002, a proposed plan unit development Powers Health 800 MacArthur rezone for continued discussion on March 11, 2025 for final review of SD PUD, including all discussions and findings. This is where I have a problem, and Councilman, I want to bring this to everyone's attention. We get these packets on a Friday. Today's Monday, out of town all weekend. Got to work Monday, work Tuesday. There's not enough time to review this stuff. It's not the petitioner's fault.
No.
Once again, it is our fault as town staff, as a board, that we don't have all these items by the 1st of February, you know, the first of the month, to be able to discuss. So when we get something on here that's asking us to defer, and we don't even have staff present at the meeting, I want to know why we're deferring it and all the reasons. And the discussion's not there, nor is information there. You know, I should have a presentation here, should be of all the items, you know.
It appears that there's a new schedule that was presented that hopefully gives us 4 weeks going forward.
But like I said, we're at the
Yeah,
point
we're at
again,
this
But tonight,
we're doing it again right here. So keep beating my drum, but we gotta get this dialed in.
And unfortunately, Mr. Rowland, we don't have a backup staff at this point. So when they're not present, and all we have is the notes that they've sent forward. So I hear it, but we hate to.
I know, the hard part is,
Meeting.
I go in a presentation and I sit in the chair here. Oh, I want things like dialed in, so we're ready to go as a board, right?
So that you.
And we're on the same page.
Mhm.
I know we're on the same page. So I just want to make sure we get that.
We need more time. We need
So,
to review this. I don't know what you're saying.
so does anyone have any questions regarding this? And like I said, I don't know what Mr. Adi Community Hospital's position is regarding, you know, tabling this for another month and how that affects the project. So that's why I want to hear any concerns that we have right here regarding tabling this, why we're tabling this, and then we'll bring the petitioner up. So if anyone has something to say, it's a good time to do it now.
I was reading through the standards for bulk design and uses, when it was presented the first time, and I'm assuming it's the same this time. I was just to see, you know, I really didn't have anything to compare it to, but if you go to page 18, section G, item number 6. I was just reading through, the building roof shall be generally a flat roof with internal roof drawings, decorative pitch roofs, or mansard elements are permitted in limited areas such as entrances of the building. I really would like, Ms. Bennett, I'm not sure if we're able to strike things from this proposed, document, yes, because I really would like to strike mansard out, like that's, so in my opinion, a very dated, building shape, I don't like it.
What you're discussing is aesthetics.
Yeah.
And it's Pandora's box, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because what might not be pleasing to you can be to somebody else. And as a plan commission, generally, if you're getting into, you know, those select choices or those select decisions determining what you're looking to do or not do. It's something that, you know, from a legal perspective, we warn against, obviously, because of that. If it isn't something that's conflicting with your zoning code, or is so adverse to the surrounding area, because of something being, right, gaudy or preparing to such an extreme that would be offensive to more than a subjective standard, then it's really not something that's, you know, in any way recommended because of that. There's no gauge for it. There's no single standard for it. If it's from one to another.
So if we as a town had our own standards, like architectural standards, that would be something that we could.
Architectural standards in the sense of materials,
Well, design standards, just, you know,
but design standards don't get into aesthetics that way. You look at classic design standards versus colors, you know, things of that nature that are getting again more to aesthetics and not to a building to a certain level or a building of a certain type. If you set that out as part of standards, there's, you know, a certain point that you can go to, but not down to that, you know, amount of detail in that regard.
Well, materials are fine, you can list, no stucco, you
Yep.
can list, right?
Proportions.
Absolutely. Yeah, size, dimension, heights, yes, restrictions on, I mean, right, a standard one, certain types of fencing, you know, things of that nature, but.
No 4 straight wall boxes. You know, certain design elements you could add in there.
Yep, that are kind of more of a general standard, if you will.
Since this is an open discussion, I know some communities have designated that they want a particular section of the community to be done in a certain design. I think Crown Point has it with, I don't know if it's Williamsport or whatever. They want all the buildings that are new coming up to have that appearance, but that they've set that aside as a zone, and that's what's the condition there.
I'm not familiar specifically with where you're talking about, if that is set up as a PUD, if that is set up as covenants that were set by the developer and not dictated by the town. Developers obviously can do that with.
Right, I think this
specific
was the
standards.
city, but I'm not super
Yeah, I
familiar
can't
with it.
speak to it, I'm sorry.
But that's fine. I know they have asked that certain buildings have that look. But that obviously is something that has to be set up, I would think, and arranged and designed. It can't just be us at the meeting bringing this up that we don't like this color or something. And the standards have to be in place. Reasonable assumption.
It is, but there again, I don't want to leave you with the impression either that you can set out a standard that just says it gives colors. Even to that, again, it's getting to, policing or dictating aesthetics, and that's not something that you have that, to that extent of the liberty to be able to do. There has to be, it's private property. People have to have the ability, it's like somebody coming in and telling you what color house or what kind of roof you can put on your house. Unless it is something that is, yeah, that's
That's true.
restricted that way. If it was town property, yes, but when it is private property, it's the government telling, you know, the landowner what to do in that regard, that is beyond a safety, a public, you know, where it's protection for the environment, where it's, like I said, safety concerns, police, fire, you know, things of that nature. Once you get into one of those criteria, that is your basis for findings, as a determination by a plan commission, then those factor in. If it doesn't fit into one of those areas, then you're encroaching on that kind of that dangerous area that becomes, like I said, indoor labs.
I think Powers Health, our deco looks nice.
Not to digress too much, but is there a precedent or a situation where a town can, an architectural review board or something that where we don't specify, but we can guide based on, you know, collaborate with corporate partners, people developing in our town. Is that done elsewhere? Is there an architectural review element that is used elsewhere that could be maybe not at this point, although we have a good relationship with community, that we could collaborate going forward on this project or others, which is more so from a general perspective, as we have concerns, what can we do or what do you know of elsewhere?
It's really the same situation. Your architectural standard is giving those development standards, not where you can dictate, you know, down to the specificity of what you want in a particular building. Again, it's private property.
Collaborate
I cannot-
versus dictate.
Well, collaboration is they have to agree. And
Absolutely.
it cannot be, what
Absolutely.
many boards get into is an inference that, you know, if not, we're not approving this. And that is where, you know, it turns. into-
Agree completely. I
So
wouldn't-
that becomes the issue. And normally the architectural review, you see those more in subdivision review by HOAs. That can, because now it's private contracting.
Yeah.
And if you buy property and from, you know, a developer who's already put those restrictions on a certain parcel, then you're buying and that's
Makes sense.
private contracting, but unfortunately not from government,
You've reviewed covenants you're aware of.
written that stuff.
Now,
Absolutely.
now it's been, there's a little bit of difference, I would guess, when there's public financing it, right? When Centennial Village came in front of us, or let's say the Sinborg property, there were certain design elements that we added in there, but was that because there was a public-private funding effort between there, and that was part of agreement with some of the TIP money? But obviously, we gave Mr. Kimball a whole different, I mean, we put a bunch of design standards into those covenants because we couldn't have certain businesses there, we couldn't, you know.
Yep. And because your TIP district was set out accordingly, with that of what was set in that could be approved in that TIF specifically, that's what would have restricted some of the specific businesses that you're referencing that were the issues at the time. Also with that, because you are all through TIF, that allows for input, more collaboration that way. Yes.
Architectural and building design standards.
Because typically, when it's the tip money in that regard, that comes with some other conditions. And so you typically, more often than not, you see more.
Always string
collaboration.
attached, right?
In that regard, there can be, but I think that often in those situations, the recipient is very willing to do whatever the town wants because
There's more involved.
they want the, yes, as much, they take as much advantage as they can of getting the job.
Absolutely. Anyone else have any questions? If not, I'll read Mr.
Well,
Roddy.
I was gonna ask real quick,
Sorry, step on up. You're the question I'm writing.
well, Miss Bennett, if we had a historic district and it has covenants and it has, some communities have that where I believe you're limited to the colors, you have to bring it in for a review, but that is a district that's been established that within this area, if you want to do work to your building, it has to be within certain
That's
design.
determined by the state standards. That's for historic districts that's determined by the state.
Historic, yes.
That's not covenants or something that the town establishes specifically. It is the requirements from the state where they set out, right, if you're replacing in columns or windows have to be the same, or the exterior, it's focused on the exterior facade. And what has to be kept or restored, either in its original condition or restored with like materials that keep that historic preservation. But that is, yes, in those designated areas, and that's led by those state standards.
Okay, thank you very much.
David, just gonna ask a question. With this, if this is continued for a few things to iron out with staff and stuff, the next item that comes up in front of us is obviously the 4-story medical building. If that got approved without this, because obviously the building seems like it fits a lot of these standards, mechanicals are screened, the building materials are similar to the hospital and stuff like that. Would that affect you with this would this affect the petitioner with moving forward on this project, even though this developmental standard, whatever this is continued for a month?
The development plan review is going to be contingent upon the PUD's insurance. So it's not that you can't proceed with that, but it would be conditioned on
What-
receiving that as well.
What's your timeline on starting construction and going in for permit and all that kind of stuff?
Well, we'd like to keep the train rolling down the track.
Sure.
Any delay is gonna impact us, but we'd like to get started this summer.
Okay.
You know, we've got a lot of deep foundations to put in
Sure.
caissons for this. And bid packages develop and all the mechanicals to move forward. So,
Well, the building got approved and was just tweaking some of the developmental standards and the actual
We're-
4-story was approved, then you basically have your footprint, your drawings are complete, basically.
yeah,
You go out to bid And it doesn't really slow you down because you're at the same design phase and finishing the drawings, and sending them all out based on having the structure approved, right?
Yeah, we're definitely willing to work with you on whatever it takes to move this forward. We always have worked with the community. We do use first-class building materials. We'll provide a building that everybody will be proud of, that's for sure. As far as it will have the campus look. We've always used the Indiana limestone. On this building, we're looking to use precast though, to make it look more like the parking garage, more of that white look. A lot of storefront on this. But it will be an attractive building for the entire community. Keep in mind, some of the elevations of this building will basically disappear. Because the east elevation is up against the parking garage. The north elevation will be expanded in the future. So basically, the south elevation and the west elevation is what you're gonna see from this point forward.
I personally don't have a problem with any of the materials you've suggested, like limestone, that's great, curtain wall systems, great. Precast, fine, I'm just concerned, treading lightly that, it doesn't need to look like the 1973,
Right, and we're trying to make it look more
doesn't have to
modern.
match. Like, it could be better.
Right, and
This is a real.
do you
opportunity.
have this rendering?
Yeah.
You have the newest one where it's white? It's more white?
did
Can I
see
share
it,
these with you?
Sure.
Sure.
And once again, we're jumping a little bit ahead because
Yeah.
we're still, that's the next item on the agenda. Right.
I guess for me, it's the punched windows, the little
Well,
patient room windows.
I've asked the architect to look at making ribbon windows, and I've also asked him to look at making vertical windows.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to throw out a bit of information. And I have had 30 years' experience with the hospital, community hospital. And I do have to just say that this particular design is what was approved years ago by Donald S. Powers. And this was his preference of how he wanted the building to look. I ventured a little bit where I put some windows together and it was not well received. Just a bit of history that this is somewhat designed by the individual that was over this whole operation, and that's what he liked. So just,
Some history to it, you're saying.
it's a little bit of history. And there's, been concerns over the years that the hospital per se is not like this storefront attraction. We've added some pieces over there that faces the Parkview building and that. So they ventured into a few things, but the basic appearance is history and what was requested by the individual. So for whatever that's worth.
And I think there's a large drop-off canopy that'll make it look more modern, and it'll all be glass. So I think it'll improve the appearance and make it look more modern. And we're looking at putting landscaping in any place we can along the building as far as planters or make it more attractive.
I shared some photos with Sergio after the last meeting. I don't know if he shared those with you, but
Yes, he did.
to me, those are really innovative medical buildings. And I think when I'm just giving you my opinions here. And I'm trained in architecture, and to me, that shows you that you're forward thinking in medicine, and you're forward thinking in your architecture and your design. And I just feel like that's probably, that's the message you want to give the community. I just want to encourage you to push the limits a little bit and think outside of, the current box.
Yeah, and we're looking at seeing what we can do with the glazing to make it more modern, more.
I know you said like this is just the first building and a lot of it will be covered by the other buildings, but the other buildings, I'm sure you'll want to look the same as this, so.
Yeah.
We gotta get it right the first time.
Right, and this is, as it would be at IU University, it's the campus look, it's the limestone look. It's like Purdue with the red brick, it's gotta fit in with the
Well,
campus.
I've seen a lot of those buildings at IU and, reputable architects that I know in Indianapolis that have done that work and, yeah. let's do a little bit. I'm happy to talk to you about this on this, I love, the opportunity for a work session or something.
Yep, we're definitely open to sit down.
No, I need to interject here.
Okay.
Not do that.
Okay.
In there.
That was actually suggested by Sergio earlier on his
It's a
phone.
way to collaborate. I
Yes.
mean, because obviously
Right.
the hospital is a tremendous corporate citizen.
Sure.
So if they're willing to have a conversation and we promise not to, prevail, overexert ourselves. Is there an avenue for that even? Is there?
There is, and that's normally through your work sessions.
Okay.
If you set that up or through the TRC, so that then there is a record of that for that exact reason of what you're talking about. And I don't, in no way am suggesting that somebody is going to, threaten or do something that way. Please don't take it that way, but just so that, because those, it protects the town bluntly from having any type of issue moving forward or any, potential lawsuit if something like that comes up. So that's where it's the best to have that in those sessions where it is reported, there is a record of what was happening, what was going back and forth. Otherwise, it's communication through staff for that purpose, so that it's not that you as the decision makers are not the ones that are having that one-on-one influence, if you will.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Sorry,
that's the
I wish I could
when
tell
the
you
next
otherwise.
three buildings come up down the road, you wouldn't mind having like kind of set of work study sessions, and talk to.
We
Just
generally
like any
meet
other
with the
developer
town
does when they come to
before,
town.
yeah, we have a work session with them and they critique.
And the hard part is, I know you do a lot of this on the site development plan review committee, but it's like 2:00 on a Tuesday, which is possible for lay persons that are being paid $50 a month to do their civic duty to make it all these things, right? Correct. So. Back to this petition. I really don't have a good feel to approve it without having someone on staff here today give me all the recommendations on why we are passing it, tabling it, and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to hold up community hospital regarding their project. If Mr. Adi feels comfortable with being able to table this portion of the standards, and move on to the building, I think we can come up with a consensus on the building tonight because, like I said before, it fits in with the campus. I know there's concerns about architectural and other kind of things. I think you're working with us trying to keep, like windows and obviously landscaping plan the box, bring in the drive and make it look a little new, modern, and more refreshed, I think we can go on to the next one. Just like I said, I personally don't have a feel on passing the standards without hearing everything from Sergio and staff and why it's come to this point. Any other opinions or thoughts on that?
I agree.
I don't know.
And I'm thinking, there's a reason why that was asked to be deferred early on, when they have 1 month. And we're allowing them to go ahead with all the rest of the planning, and then they're not really gonna break ground until summer to do the actual work. I think it's a reasonable to let it sit for a month. And just I want to add too that what Dave Adi said, the hospital does build a quality building. And their caissons go down, generally it depends on the building, 125 feet, and they're substantial. And I know Mr. Rowland here is familiar with that. We're not, in the history of the hospital, there's been no sinkage, raising, slipping, tilting, or anything. It's built solid. Well, but yeah, I guess I would classify these buildings well in excess of 100-year life.
Yes. Keep in mind, we are a dependent place. We have people that are incapable of self-preservation. So we have to protect their lives. So we are built stout.
Well, that being said, this is a public hearing, so I will open up PC 25002 to the public. If anyone would like to come up and speak on behalf of this, please come up, please state your name and address for the record. Going once, going twice, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the planning commission.
Mr. Atkins, if I may, if you are going to consider a motion to table this, then I advise that you leave the public hearing open.
Okay.
So that as new information is heard next week, that then the public can still speak on that on behalf of themselves at that point, then you say, and by leaving it open and notifying the public today, you do not have to re-advertise.
We close it sometimes before, even though we table stuff, but if you think that's possible.
Yeah, that's your better ways to use it.
So basically, all we are is gonna leave public, all we are is like a motion table, public hearing.
Yeah, and continue the public hearing then over to the next date as well,
And no re-notification, everything is good.
as long as it's done in the public meeting. That's correct. As long as the rescheduling is done in the public.
Sure, okay. You've heard the advice of council, looking for,
I make a motion to defer table PC 250-002, a proposed plan unit development, Powers Health at 800 MacArthur, rezone continued discussion on March 11th, 2025 for final review of SD-PUD, including all discussions and findings.
we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Please call roll.
Ms. Brannigan,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. Rathman,
Yes,
Mr. Shinkin.
Yes.
motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Sire. Please work with Sergio and staff regarding the little intricacies that we're looking for. Next item is PC 25003. It's a developmental standard plan review. Dave Adi of Powers Health requests development plan approval for a new 4-story medical office building to be put of Powers Health 800 MacArthur Plan Unit Development at 800 MacArthur Boulevard. Please pull this onto the screens, please. So this is the master plan, yeah. This master plan shows the location of the floor plan. That's a 24,978 square foot, building. That's the first one you're doing, right?
Correct.
Plan, that's building number 1. You can kind of see the phases around this parcel that's going, in the direction 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you got another building, phase 2 would be roughly 12,694 square feet, right? And then the next building would be 29,428 for the first floor. And then the last building, if you're correct, it would be 12,453 square feet.
Correct.
Around there. So the public can kind of take a look at this, seeing how these 4 buildings will tie into the parking structure off of MacArthur Boulevard and just to the east of Calumet Avenue. Ties in the parking garage. So basically you'll tie in this parking garage. You walk in the parking garage from this area, and then if you wanted to, you can walk from basically a parking garage you want to cross the street right over to the medical campus.
You can, there's a bridge that goes across MacArthur on the 2nd floor.
Any questions on the layout of the site plan, showing how it ties into the parking garage where these buildings are being located? Switch over to the building elevations, please, which is the next item on there. Mr. Ryan, you can come up to the microphone. This is your show tonight. It's all you. So just state your name and address for record one more time, since it's another agenda item.
Dave Adi, 901 MacArthur. Munster, Indiana. So basically what you're looking at is the proposed four-story building. It is being developed with caissons, so we can expand it up to 6 stories, which is typical of the construction of the hospital. A lot of those buildings, like the PVT building was only 2 stories. We added 4 stories on it. The original West Pavilion was also a 2-story structure. We took it up to 6 stories also. Likewise, this building will be built as 4 stories with the capability of going up 2 more floors. So foundations would be the deep caissons. This be a slab almost on grade. It'll be about the same level as the first floor of the parking garage. Concrete columns, concrete waffle decks for all the floors. The skin of the building will be the precast concrete with the ribs in it, typical of the parking garage, punched windows. Along with that, there's the front window. You can tell it's in a bowed. It's a radius shape. It's hard to see from the rendering. So that large glass storefront, drop-off canopy with some architectural supports underneath it. The roof system will be an insulated EPDM rubber membrane to keep us dry. As far as the landscaping, we're looking at putting as much landscaping as we can around the entrance, the big pots, and then wherever we can put additional pots and plants, we will. We're also looking on the south side of Brading of adding some ornamental trees to dress that up also. As you can see, some trees by the parking garage. This rendering was a little bit grayer. We're going to go more towards the white of the parking garage so it ties in together. Building is basically 25,000 square foot per floor, 4 floors, 100,000 square foot. Mechanicals, we're looking right now, placing them up on the 5th floor. We'd like to get started as soon as possible.
So that elevation is basically the southeast corner, correct?
Southwest.
Southwest corner.
Yeah, this is all south along Braden, and this is the west elevation. And now we've got the Powers Health signage on the south elevation and also the west elevation.
So in the site plan, you have these buildings, 1, 2, 3, and 4 packed together really tightly. Is that just kind of a graphic? It's, I mean, 'cause
That is-
otherwise you wouldn't see that one end of the.
Right. You're gonna lose basically a lot of the north elevation of this building when we tie onto it. And there'll be a courtyard in the center of all of those that will dress up with landscaping and kind of make it like a healing garden.
Like the old Jones Clinic.
So there will be no gap then in between the walls.
No, they'll actually be a combined structure. Provide more structural support in making it a box.
Mr. Chairman, if I might ask, how are you handling the seismic requirements?
McCluskey Engineering has been engaged on this along with JMA Architects. They are following all the seismic requirements that are the new codes. So we'll have all the isolation requirements included in this building.
Good, so again, that's what makes it last a lot longer when it's built to the new standards.
Right, and this building will be, like all our buildings, 100% sprinkled. So we are a dependent place because of the patients we have, so none of this building will have overnight stay at this time. It's just outpatient services. There'll be 3 elevators, 2 stair towers for easy access, tied into the parking garage at all elevations. So people should be able to access all the outpatient services easily and get to their appointments quickly, and we can provide first quality service.
So what are you gonna do when you bump that building? What are you doing with that one when you put building 4 up? The building 4 bumps into building 1, right?
This elevation right here, this is gonna get all covered up.
Yeah, you've got the,
So it's just gonna be dark then in those spaces.
Or how you closing, if you're, yeah.
that's phase 4, that's
Your last building ties.
25, yeah,
Huh?
25 years down the road.
Oh,
Yeah, but that wall comes down later on, as it bumps into the other wall.
Yeah, it'll have to be, yeah, and then the main entrance will be on the north end and there'll be one on the south end, west.
So I guess like Rachel, Ms. Brannigan was saying, when it comes to building 3 and 4 that faces Calumet Avenue. And we just don't want to see a limestone, that's what we're talking about, aesthetics later on, to having, Powers Health's mind. That there's a whole lot of architectural standards that we could do to kind of.
Dress it up.
To dress it up a little bit different than the
Agreed.
frontage road at Calumet Avenue as you go into building 3 and 4. And I think as a commission of town, we should come up with a plan to make sure. That that's our frontage, we could do something different. You could do curb walls. It doesn't have to be a big box. There's a lot of things we could do. Obviously,
Yeah, and the curtain wall is an attractive feature.
right. Or you're gonna lose half the curtain wall when you.
Yeah,
Right.
so, yeah, we'll move it down the road.
so sorry,
Go ahead.
you said building 4 is 25 years. What's the succession of the buildings 2 and 3? Like,
You don't have a crystal
Probably,
ball, do you?
I
yeah,
mean, every 10 years, or every 5?
or every 5 or so.
That's it all depends.
It depends how medical, yeah,
And what the
how
competitors are gonna do,
reimbursements
right?
are and
Right.
how services are provided.
Sure.
Probably also depends on reimbursement.
Reimbursement, definitely.
They don't get paid for the services, then it takes a lot longer to acquire the money to do the work.
Looking at the building, obviously, I don't have a ton of detail on it. All mechanicals are screened, grass is irrigated. Proper
Correct.
lighting around there for safety and aesthetics, going up the hospital, obviously, you got a well-lit, facility, dumpsters and that kind of stuff. There's nothing.
There'll be an enclosure around the dumpster and the generator.
So if you have mechanicals on the roof, parapets are high enough, and then later on, as you do other storage, you'll relocate whatever you have. on the
Right.
roof stuff.
Exhaust fans and stuff will go up, mechanicals will be enclosed on that floor itself.
There's no helicopter pad in this building, right? Just.
It's on the parking garage right now,
Right there.
yes.
But this isn't, this is more outpatient, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You're going
generally
across- you're
all
going across to the
outpatient.
hospital, emergency room, not here. But
Correct.
with helicopter stuff.
And the goal is to empty all those outpatient services that are provided in the hospital right now, move them into this building so we can provide more private patient rooms and more inpatient services in the hospital.
Yeah, I feel like I've already said my stuff. I think you're checking off all the boxes, but I just would like you to think outside.
And once we evaluate what those windows look like, and share it with administration and get their buy-in. Present.
Do you think you'd move in a direction with a little bit different window standards, or is this,
I asked the architect this morning to provide a couple renderings so I can present it to see how well it is received.
Thank you.
anyone else have any questions for the petitioner?
Well, it's not necessarily germane. Do you have a guesstimate as to what your estimate on the construction costs?
Want me to give you an number here?
100 million. And based on tariffs, the construction costs just keep going up so much. We're seeing $1,000 a square foot on a lot of the stuff we're building now.
Wow. Got to
Yeah.
pay for medical costs.
And that price used to be like surgical suite,
It was, yeah,
350 to 750. Now you got 1,000 on process. Now, that 100 million, is that for that entire project? Or is that
No.
just for this building
The
number
first,
one?
the first phase. You asked for, it's just a rough estimate.
Yeah, rough estimate. So it's a substantial investment in the community.
Yes, definitely. It'll provide a lot of opportunity for all the local craftsmen and suppliers too. We generally use all local suppliers, so made in America.
And you,
Plus, it brings a lot of people to town, right? There's people working there, people
Oh.
using the restaurants and everything else that are. coming
The
to town
hotels.
For services, right?
and then you'll have a lot of employees, there'll be a lot of positions. Some of these employees may move over from the main hospital, but then you're gonna backfill with new employees for the inpatient services, so it's a big employer.
Yes.
It bears repeating, community hospital is an excellent corporate citizen, are around, their fingerprints are everywhere. So, okay. This will be a nice addition. I echo Rachel's points too, that, if we have an opportunity at this crossroads to be forward thinking, especially if the next piece is 25 years from now, we don't want it to look like 1970 in the year of the math, but yeah. So, in 2050. So, maybe it'll be new again. Let's face it.
We just have
thank
to make
you.
sure all the pieces coordinate.
Yes.
Anyone have any other questions for Mr. Adi? Thank you, Mr. Adi. I'll open this up to the public. This is a public hearing for PC 25003 for developmental plan review. Would anyone like to come up on behalf of the public and speak? If so, please state your name and address for the record. Once, going twice. Close the public hearing and bring it back to the planning commission.
Yeah, staff report on this one, it didn't have yeah. Or,
So we are the staff and we are the report
Yes.
right now, so.
You got your $50.
Get overtime, but
Do we, know what motion we're looking for?
we're looking for a motion to approve the.
Yeah, so they can
development
get
plan
started.
For PC 25003 or deny or whatever the pleasure of the commission is. What's the on the chair? I can make that motion.
Correct, but you can suggest.
I don't have a cattle thought here.
how do we move forward though? Given the discussion that we've had, like, changes that we. Like,
But can we do those changes?
Yeah.
We can't put that. You stated that, so we cannot.
So it gets deferred.
All we can do is,
Defer and keep it open
I'm-
until.
Yeah.
So we can make a motion to approve it as it was presented
Right.
and discussed.
Well, the only items we really were discussing, I believe, was the possible the ribbon windows, right? Was there any other items we were talking about? Or what?
vertical windows, I mean, you're looking at both.
I'm looking
Have
at
them
both
drawn.
scenarios. Yeah, I've asked for renderings of both.
Right. And I'm sure Powers Health and Mr. Adi being a good community citizen can share both of our, you can get the feedback and share both of those items with the commission and staff regarding what the
Yes.
renderings look like. And I'm sure you're very receptive for feedback from members of the community that's up on this board. So,
Agreed.
Does that motion work?
I'm not making the
I
motion.
just-
No, Counselor Alfred said.
We state that one more time.
Okay, so I just said, I'd like to make a motion to accept the plan as presented and discussed this evening with any conversations related to the window renderings in the future. And so that they can go forward with their plan. I don't think that they've had a swing and a miss in our community since 1970, whatever, three, so that's fine.
That was good. Okay, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
No.
That being said,
Let them build.
That being said, would you please call roll?
Ms. Brannigan,
Yes,
Ms. John,
Yes,
Dr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. Rathman,
Yes.
Mr. Shinkin.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No,
for
thank
with us
you.
Tonight. All right, next item on discussion, next item on the agenda is continued discussion items. We have PC 24012, developmental plan review, 20 years act with E. Anthony Inc. for OSNI, which is orthopedic specialist Northwest Indiana, is proposing to amend a previously approved developmental plan impacting the building facade and site updates, including interior renovation of a 10,000 square foot church building into a medical facility at 9900 Columbia Avenue. Public hearing was closed on 12/10/24. Pull up on the screen. So staff findings recommendation, the review of the developmental plan application supporting documents, staff is requesting additional information regarding the lighting plan to include the pole, detail and head type, as well as proposed sign package. The applicant submitted additional information regarding site lighting plan and monument signage. Staff is unclear if the monument sign plan is current because the plans identified an expanded parking lot and future phase 2 of the building. The applicant should provide clarification of the monument sign plan submitted, 1 or 2 monument signs. The monument sign specs submitted appear to meet the zoning standards of 6 foot high and 18 square foot sign area. Sign material has not been identified and may require developmental standard variance upon review of a submitted sign permit application. In addition, wall signage will need clarification regarding quantity, size, and material. Additional information required at developmental standard variance upon review of a submitted sign permit application, more particularly where internal lit logo over existing cross is referenced. In addition, staff has noted that the proposed light head type, color, temperature, and overall height do not comply with the zoning code standards. Proposed light heads are Cobra style and not colonial coach or acorn style. The overhead height is 23 foot. And the required height is 20 foot. The color temperature is 4,000 K. The code required is 3,000 K. The applicant needs to seek approvals through developmental standard variance or comply with the code town zoning code. Staff recommends compliance with Munster character-based zoning code and see approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals to vary from the proposed lighting code. Planning Commission may consider following, move to approve PC 2012-24012 development plan for 99 Columbia Avenue with the condition that all lighting sign specs comply with the character-based zoning code, including all discussions and findings. That's a mouthful.
Glad we have the staff with it.
Yes. Someone here on behalf of a petitioner,
Yes,
please state your name and address for record.
Mark Smith, 6520 Timber Park, Illinois.
Okay. You heard all the stuff I read.
Yes.
Obviously, this is stuff that you have been working over the last month with staff.
Correct.
Is there anything that jumps out regarding this that you have not met? Have you met all these conditions that staff has been asking you to do? Lighting, signage, everything else?
With regards to the signage, landmark sign is going to be, they've already been through a review process and they're going to be resubmitting based on everything you just mentioned. And will be compliant with the current code for the signage. With regards to, in particular, the site plan, we show the landscaping screening around the transformer, which you had asked for. Also, the additional landscaping is shown on here. Highlighted is the sidewalk throughout the perimeter of the site. And also we show the mechanical screening on the courtyard where to block the view of the condensing units as requested. There's also a note on the final drawing in here, the floor plan, which shows a actual view of the mechanical screening for at least with the gates, which matches the trash enclosure look. So it's consistent with that. Light poles, everything, we're going for the variance, so that's on the 11th. submitted all the information for that. And I believe that was everything that was required.
What happened with the light poles? That we just didn't use light poles that are part of the, approved lighting plan?
It was based on the original drawings that we had that were approved before, so we just stayed consistent with that and utilized what was approved.
And now because there's only one building, that's why we had to make a change. Is that right?
Did you submit before the ordinance change or?
Yes, that was submitted before the ordinance change. And the lights that were on that drawing are consistent with everything around the area right now.
The issue was, a misunderstanding, believing that the development plan, the original development plan that had the lighting laid out in it, that approval of this board of a development plan does not, override required BZA approval of a variance if it doesn't comply with the code. So your development plan is an overall look at the whole site plan. It is not necessarily the specific criteria, which kind of get back into our prior discussion about the aesthetics and things of that nature. Whatever is in their signage plan, whatever is in their lighting plan, as it is presented to you, you are looking at that as a global plan. When they actually apply and are coming in for that, which is what surgery has been dealing with. And as Mr. Smith has referenced, that they're going to go in front of BZA for the lighting plan for sure. And it sounds like the signage will now be compliant once it comes back around in that view. But if not, your approval of the development plan does not override the authority. The BZA has the final authority as to those developmental standards. There is no approval that you can give that takes away the BZA's ability to do so. So that's where the confusion came with the prior one, is that the belief that when you approved the development plan, the overall site plan, that you were approving each of those itty-bitty, details within. And so that obviously required the updated information to get to that point of potentially applying for a permit to do so, and then the determination is to go in front of BZA.
Since you're our new council here, what do we do in the future to make sure when there's a property like this, that presents something that they're gonna build and they come back and scale it back, but it's not exact, it's not what we approved? I mean, how do we handle that right from the start to make sure towns protected and it comes before this commission again for review? Because I mean, there's a lot of things you might have done differently. Because you got a whole green space area. I don't know if that's irrigated or not. We want to, you're doing all this rehab stuff, irrigation, landscaping for that triangle. It's not the same thing that was presented. That's where I had a problem where the permits are issued, but it's,
And
in
that
my
becomes-
opinion, it's almost like a bait and switch,
And that becomes the entire issue, is that once the approval happens, if that plan is not what is proceeding forward, then that requires, a renewal or a redo, if you will, on the providing the land development agreement. In those situations, bluntly, there should have been stop work orders. There should have been, impositions that the town put upon them at that point for as the contractors are proceeding forward, because that never should have happened. And there should have been them financial consequences accordingly. That's the process, but I believe during the timing and everything, what was going on and trying to work with them to accomplish that. But in moving forward, yes, that would always be what the recommendation would be, into no specific project am I referring to, but that then if not legal action is taken to stop that, so that you're not in this exact situation where you're trying in hindsight to go back and re-inspect and determine that, the code, and not only local code, but also state code, was compliant for all of those things you were referring to. And if the plan is substantially different, then yes, the process starts over.
And we should have been notified on that, correct?
Should have been something that at the time, once, as soon as it's discovered that the contractor is proceeding forward without the appropriate approvals, stopped at that point,
By the plan, correct?
do inspections.
Oh, through the inspection, the building department.
Yeah,
I mean, they're typically gonna be the ones that are gonna determine it. And then now, can that be brought back in front of you by your staff and you revoke the plan? Absolutely. Which gives even more power to inspection, to your inspectors, and or that lawsuit.
But in all fairness, the building department sometimes know what we approve here in the plan, and then you have an architect redraw something else and it's submitted and put through and approved and.
Well, where the issue comes in is when they start building documents. And I believe that that was some discussion here previously of the difference in opinion of what the building department had for permits. And what, the contractors believe that they had. So that also caused, some conflict in that regard. But again, unless there is, where your inspectors are knowing exactly what is the status of a particular project in town until they're called for an inspection, they don't necessarily know that.
Question, on this particular project, wasn't a big part of the omission from the original approved project that there was a second building, so am I wrong? Like the inspectors, as they come out, this initial building, they're not aware of the fact that this isn't going to happen, to then go, okay, well, if you're not doing the second portion, then you will need to comply and you need to go back to plan commission. So I'm not even sure that they would have known.
And it depends on what they're called out for. That was part of what had happened, was they were called out for inspections of, certain items, and I apologize, I don't have right in front of me what those two things, of what those were, but where they're inspecting one item, and even though there might be other construction going on, they're not policing that, again, private property, and kind of allowing those things to proceed through, expecting that on the good faith, because contractors want to keep their registration in town and continue working, that they are not going to pull some of those, bait and switches, and that they're going to call for those inspections. It is not uncommon to have this exact situation where, and again, I don't know, I was not involved in this project at that point, but in my experience, I've seen situations where it's a contractor will call out for an inspection, and because they have people to report to and timelines and all of that, it's, oh, we received, green light on everything, and we just kind of keep proceeding forward and miss those other steps intentionally, potentially. And I, again, I'm not accusing anyone in this situation, but that is the experience that I've had, where then, because of those timelines, those kind of proceed forward, unless it is the same inspector, but could be different inspectors, right, that are coming out for different things. And or the records, which makes a big difference on what the system is that those progressive inspections are being reported in, and to know, what is the next step and what should be happening. Likewise, if you reference, if they don't have that full plan in front of them, the inspectors are only dealing on a inspection by inspection basis, it becomes kind of a, knocking their head against the wall that they have knowledge of.
And with all due respect, we had complete transparency on the project we had pre-meetings with Sergio in the village and the building department, and had pre-meetings on site to make sure they knew exactly what was happening.
And it was a scaled down building.
Yes,
It wasn't the original one that we approved here.
approved. The original scaled down building, yes.
Yes, but that's, we didn't approve the scaled down building. We approved full site thing with the parking lot and a bigger building, right?
Yeah, well, we met with the original meetings here with the building
I'm talking
department.
to this agency right here. I don't know what goes on in the meetings that I'm not at. We
Understood.
sat here, I believe the campus was a larger campus, it was a larger building, the parking lot was, right? Bigger parking lot or whatever. You can step up there, man. Why don't you say your name and address for the record?
Lisa Worth at 225 Nyfors Place in Munster. And just to clarify, what he was saying is we did have the meetings with Sergio, which I realized we're not with you as a committee. In those meetings, we were clear that, this building that is currently there, that building was always a remodel. We were considering potentially adding square footage to it, but it was mostly staying within those existing walls. The second building was for a phase 2 of the project. The architect presented the whole plan of the two buildings, similar to what Powers did as the overall look of what the campus will be. We have not said we're not building the second building. It is on hold right now due to financial costs. So there is still intent to have that second building. We're not saying we're going to leave the big wide open triangle of space.
we are planning to still do that second building, it just will not be done at the same time. So I hope that can help clarify, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I had to go back in meeting minutes, because I thought that building was going sooner, because obviously, why put a big parking lot in there? They have a big park, I mean, you have the parking lots, you know, and keep green space in there if you're gonna, you can never do the building, so it looks obviously silly that some monstrous parking lot and little building, right?
Sure.
So that's why I don't.
Understood. I believe
Quite.
the intent was to have them closer together, and quite honestly, due to the financial scope, we have to spread them out more.
But in all fairness, I don't know if that was conveyed
It may not have been.
properly
It may not.
in front of this commission. I think Mr. Baker would agree, that's not here tonight. That he sets in the chair, that that's the case, you know?
That was entirely possible. I just want to make sure you understand at this
And-
point that we still have that intention in the future.
And that's why when I go to other towns, we have stamps on drawings. When I'm getting drawings approved, it's got the zoning on it, it's got the landscaping, it's got plan commission, all these stamps are on a set of drawings. So when they go to the building permit, if they're missing a stamp, you don't get a building permit. And those copies are kept because when someone comes back and they're not building what they're supposed to be building, you can go back to that set and be like, oh, look, this is not the same thing, you know? So,
Mr. Chairman, if I might ask, what is, all right, we had the original drawings that were permitted, were submitted, and then that's where we thought they were going, but now they're not. What is now has to be changed?
well, I think
What
that's the
is-
whole 3-paragraph thing that I read from staff, that's, we don't have staff here, but I believe this was the staff findings and recommendations for all these items for everything from lighting to the signs. I'm just flipping through. I'm not gonna read it again.
No.
You know,
Sergio advised me yesterday when I met with him that they have complied with all their requests based upon those changes and part of the issues from, if you recall from last month, was although you had approved the 2-building site plan, that whether they were proceeding now or proceeding later on the second building, when that was not any longer on the site, then there were modifications that were made that were not even in your proposed plan and where then there was added landscaping and the difference in the parking, all of that. Those were the documents that Sergio was waiting to have updated, and he did receive all of those. The only outstanding items or questions at this point have to do with the signage and the lighting that, as we've indicated, should not affect if you decide to proceed forward this evening, because your approval is not giving approval to those regardless. They must meet code, or they have to have a variance from the BZA, as with every other. I'll just clarify, every other development standard, your approval of a site plan does not get you past the approval of the development standards for the code. If it doesn't meet code, you don't get to build it anyway. You have to go before the BZA to get a variance. This board cannot give you BZA approval. So with that being said,
so we're considering the motion to approve PC 24012 development plan for 9900 Columbia Avenue, with the condition that all lighting specs and signage comply with the character-based code, including all discussion and findings, correct? And that would trigger it over to the BZA regarding lighting standards. Signage is signage, gotta see your plan, be sure it's code materials, all that stuff.
and if they don't, likewise, they'll have to go there.
Right, you have to go to BZA.
Yeah.
There is a.
I just want to have it clarified and make
Right,
sure.
right.
Just for the lighting right now.
Right.
Yeah,
The
they have
lighting
applied
does-
for signage.
has- They have applied for the other one.
So we just need a motion.
Yes, we do.
My computer went down. Why don't you make a
Mr.
motion?
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve PC 2412 development plan for 9900 Columbia Avenue with the condition that all lighting specs and signage comply with the character-based zoning code, including all discussion and findings.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Please call roll.
Mr. Hagan?
Yeah.
Ms. John?
Yes.
Dr. Hopper?
Yes.
Mr. Nolan?
Yes.
Mr. Raffin?
Yes.
Mr. Shinkin?
Yes.
So that is passed, so please work with staff on those other items. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go Stocks.
There are no findings of facts. We have other business. We have the 2025 Planning Commission meeting schedule. There's a time change. It's that all the meetings are changed to 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Just be prepared to be sitting in that audience for 30 minutes to an hour because BZA does not get out.
They start at 6.
We want to know if I'm going to make 6 o'clock.
Yeah, they started
And
at 6.
some of us work out of the area. We start at 6:30.
All,
Who's making these rules? Because we got the park
well, it
board
was
meeting.
all of us, yeah.
Yeah, we got the park board meeting at what,
4:30.
4:30, which is tough for lay people to make it to, you know. I mean, working people to make it to, lay people to make it, you know, so we're getting some of these commissions that are early who wanna.
But we gotta be court to our employees as
Sure.
well. We don't need them here and staying, not even going home and being here till 9 o'clock. So we gotta get.
I leave the house at 4:15 every morning. Yeah, every morning, Monday through Friday, still make it here, so. And for $50 a meeting. One Tuesday a month for me, you know, but. All right, I'll see if I can make 6 o'clock. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but. Well, planning commission I can, BZA, might not be,
I'm still chairman for,
BZA,
yeah.
so it might be tough.
Yeah.
Any discussion on that? What are we looking for? Is that, we don't need a vote, is that just something that's happening?
I believe that happened at the town council meeting.
Okay. All right.
But it's acceptance of the meeting schedule that this is pre-approved, accepted by the planning commission, that these are the dates, and that's what set up, so that we don't have to make an announcement every month as to the dates are announced, when they are. Just the formality and helps the staff in terms of, for everyone here to plan when the meetings are gonna be.
All right, well, I don't see any, new business on here. I see our next regular business meeting is March 11, 2025. Before we before we go to adjournment, just want to recognize the Munster High School students here tonight. I'm sure you're here for Mr. Gordon's class, is that correct? Yeah. Do you have any questions for members? You have members of the town, 3 members of the town council that are on the planning commission, board. And we have 3 lay people that serve as residents of the town of Munster, doing our civic duty, being involved in the community, trying to get feedback. And Mr. Gordon, got any questions for you? Yes, go ahead. Make an easy one. It's getting late.
Why did you guys decide to be on the planning commission?
Mine is I have a building engineering background. A lot of the stuff that we deal with on the planning commission, as you saw tonight, deal with a lot of these site plans, building construction. It was a good fit for me because this is what I do every single day. This is, you know, my experience, my wheelhouse, you know, when you can read a blueprint, look at a plan and come up with site plans and engineering and stuff. It's just a good fit for me. Rachel's an architect.
Yeah, my background is architecture and I don't do it every day. I actually work at the elementary school and because I've been, you know, also a full-time mom and all moms are full-time, but you know, just, you know, wasn't working in architecture, you know, raising my kids. And so I wanted to stay fresh with, you know, plan commission and I care about Munster and I want Munster to be improved every day. So I just want to be a part of that.
Community-based, you know, an opportunity to help drive things as we go forward. We're at a unique kind of crossroads with some projects that face us ahead, Ridge Road and all. Much still lies ahead in Munster. I have a real estate background and I was on the BZA in Crown Point years ago with all of that. So it was a nice opportunity for me to be a part of what we do going forward.
Councilman?
I am on the town council, and it was one of the opportunities that we had to fill a lane here on the plan commission. I was interested in it for similar reasons. I mean, I've been a resident of Munster for 57 years. And I think it's progressing nicely, and I think that it's great and important. I felt it was important to have a seat at the table since it is so developed, that with these little moves that we make are well thought out.
Same thing, George Jenkins, Munster Town Council, lived here all my life, kind of saw all the changes. Just like Joe, we want to see the town progress. I want to be on this because we're gonna start looking at a 50-50 facade program and making Ridge and those outdated buildings look a little bit more eye appealing. You know, especially when we get Ridge Road, you know, down to where everybody could agree to how many lanes and this and that. But we got some outdated buildings over there, and I want to be part of that with the 50-50 facade program and work with them.
David Nellens on the council, serving here, the way the plan commission is set up, there are 3 councillor positions and there are 4 resident positions. So the residents actually have the majority of the votes. And again, the council is here to see what is going on, to help lend a hand. We also may introduce some additional design codes or zoning codes or whatever, and that comes back through the plan commission. I've been involved here with the town over 21 years on the council. I think I trump everybody here as a 60-year resident. Not born here in Munster, but born in Northwest Indiana.
60 years.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Indiana.
Now we know how old you are.
But anyway,
Not till March.
it gives us, as you can see, it gives us an opportunity to see what's coming down the road, to lend a hand if we can. We have the drawings to come in, and it's just a good opportunity to help the community. I believe that's what we're all here to do, is make things better. And I want to say too, that the $50 a month has been that way for at least the last 30-some years, and I think it's 30 years before that. So that $50 a month is not worth as much as it once was.
Well, let's give them a raise.
No one on this table does any of this
Yeah.
for the money. It's all about being involved in the community. We have great leadership in town. We have great residents that get involved, and step up to all different commissions in town. So we're very fortunate. Munster's got that small town appeal, and we have a lot of good people that get involved on a daily basis to keep it where we want it to be. So we're very fortunate in Munster. Just like you guys have good teachers, it takes good leadership in all positions. You know, it's all over town. Sure. Any other questions? You guys have to take a picture of Mr. Gordon to show you we're here or anything, or
All the way in the back.
right? Yes, go ahead. The new playgrounds, that's the Parks Department. So Parks Department, and there's members of town council that are also on the Parks Department. I saw Mr. Gardner.
Liaison,
Yeah, so there's liaisons from the town council on that board, but there's also, just like the 3 of us are we're not elected officials, we're appointed by the council. There's other residents that are on that board and take care of all the parks maintenance, all the funding they do, and all the programs. Yep. Any other questions? Both my kids had the Mr. Gordon's class, so I remember them being here years ago.
And so did mine.
Guys. Don't tell them I had to help you right after the fourth form, I think. So.
Is that an offer?
If there's no other questions, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a second.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Need a time.
Nope.
Denise,
So-
thank you.
I need a picture, come on up.
Come on,
Take a
front.
picture. Give it to Mr. Gordon and let him know you were here tonight. Come on up, Mr. Meyer.
And if there's any questions, we can answer for you.
Great, you doing basketball on Sunday? It's gonna be. No, Will was supposed to. He was out like holding up, so. Come on in, council. Come on, council, we don't have workman's comp here.
Okay,
Come on in, water's fine.
said you had the staff report for the,
Or still online, I think.
Do I hear someone's a swimmer here? I saw them swimming.
Absolutely.
Gone sideways.
It would seem to, but,
Sign into this, don't I?
would you please? Although I know.
Hey, Steph. Another picture coming?
Yeah, he said he's gonna come out. But he is.
Well, we enjoyed having you.
Eric Walker.
Gives everybody.
Eric was a year older than Thank you. Did your brother son too? Did your brother son too or not?
Here's the whole thing. You know,
Stressful, I get
Benny? Oh, no. What's your
This whole software stuff with the big thing.
well, in the internet is down. I'll help you get it.
Sometimes I joke.
I remember that.
What year? I'm a senior. What are you doing next year? Hopefully going to college. Are you going to swim? I'm not sure, probably not like older. Yeah, I bowl, that's like my main.
Do, is there Title IX? Do we have one bowling?
Yes, actually, it's
Title IX.
I'm pretty sure. I know I looked at the schools that are like, Division 2, mostly Division 3. It's not like super popular, well, everybody else is, but, yeah, if I were to explore in college, it would be bowling. Swimming up to other clubs, it's way too much commitment. Even at ice time, yeah. Sure.
That makes sense when you're seeing it.
Even bowling is also at that level, you know. Yeah.
I saw Liam King. Okay, cool. Yeah.
And then he's doing short. He's way up.
So bad. I'm so excited to see how.